and the treasurer for the Invest in Education campaign. I would like to begin today by introducing our first speaker, Joshua Buckley, who is a government high school teacher at Red Mountain High School and the chair of the Invest in Education campaign. Joshua.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Buckley, and I'm a proud public school educator. I teach 12th grade government and economics in Mesa. In my district, I work alongside my wife and over 8,000 other educators, support staff, and administrators who work tirelessly to provide the best education possible for over 60,000 students. We do our very best in spite of the leadership in this state continually underfunding education. I've spent the last 12 years as a classroom teacher, and during that time, I've seen the leaders of this state put students, educators, schools, and the communities that they serve last, over and over again. Time and again, I've been faced with more students than desks as my colleagues and I dealt with ballooning class sizes and struggled to give students the one-on-one attention that they deserve. Year after year, I've said goodbye to far too many colleagues, great educators, as they left Arizona to teach and earn more money in neighboring states, or they left the profession altogether because they couldn't afford to be an educator in Arizona. This exodus has made long-term subs and classrooms without certified teachers the norm in schools across this state, again, making it difficult to give our students the quality public education that they deserve. Every school year, educators dig into their own pockets to pay for classroom supplies, curriculum, and materials in order to give students in our classrooms our very best. We do this to provide the education that the leaders in this state will not fund. I have friends in education, some with advanced degrees, who have second jobs, third jobs, and even fourth jobs, waiting tables, driving Lyft, delivering pizzas, making balloon owls, doing face painting events, all to make ends meet.
Driving Uber.
Right?
Yes.
We do this to pay for health care, to put food on our tables, and to buy those classroom supplies that the legislature and our governor won't fund. Each year, my colleagues ask their friends and their families to give money to their donors' choose pages and their GoFundMe sites in order to help create classrooms and activities and provide curriculum that our districts can't provide because the leaders in this state have decided to put lobbies and their own donors ahead of students and schools. For over a decade, we have been covering up the cracks in this system. We've been filling the gaps that have been created by the leaders of this state. But those cracks are starting to show. And there aren't enough Band-Aids or paste to put them back together. We've done our best, hoping the legislature and the governor would do theirs. But we as educators, community members, and parents have come to the realization that we can no longer wait for the leaders here in Phoenix at this Capitol to do the right thing for students in schools. This was made incredibly clear on Thursday when 75,000 community members, educators, came out to the Capitol and they packed up and left. We came out to demand better for our students and our schools and our communities, and they left. If they will not ensure a dedicated and secure funding source moving forward in the long term for our schools, for our students, and for our communities, we will take the reins and we will make it possible. We can and we will address the education funding crisis in Arizona. We've waited for the politicians to do this. We've waited for them to make education and our children a priority and their future a priority in this state. But year after year, they've failed us. So now it's our time to act. I would like to introduce Yelenia Aguilar, a parent and Osborne school board member.
Thank you for being here. Both of my children are standing behind me. As a parent of two boys in the Osborne schools and the school board member of the same district, I am saddened and directly impacted by the failure of politicians to address our teacher shortage and class size crisis. In Osborne, our teachers and staff provide a quality education and a safe environment for students to learn in. I see firsthand how hard they work every day and how hard it has been on them to take more and more responsibilities because of failed political leadership. I firsthand have witnessed, like when I drive after school or past my children's school around 8 o'clock at night, when I notice that my principal and the teachers' cars are still there, so I know that they're investing all of their time into our schools. I ran for the school board to support students and teachers, but learned quickly that the only way to fix this would be through new, stable, and secure funding. I've worked to stand with educators on school board, and as a parent, I stood with them last Thursday when we marched on the Capitol. And I wasn't the only one. I saw parents from different communities standing arm in arm to support their teachers to demand action. But when we showed up, the politicians left. That's when I knew we had to take the power into our own hands. And it's why I'm here today, to support the Invest in Education Act. We need to ask those who can afford it to pay more, so we can finally have stable funding for our students and teachers. It is sad when my children come home and share stories about their teachers who are engaged with to other teachers and tell me that their teacher has cried because he knows that he can't start a family because he wouldn't be able to afford to. I share the story not because it's unjust and unfair, but also because I was married to a teacher and I understand the struggles of teachers. Thank you very much, and I'd like to introduce Reverend Andy Burnett.
I am Andy Burnett. I'm Senior Minister at Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Chandler. And a member of the Arizona Interfaith Network, which is comprised of broad-based organizations throughout the state, including Valley Interfaith Project, Pima County Interfaith, Northern Arizona Interfaith, and Southern Arizona Interfaith, some of whom are here today. We at the Arizona Interfaith Network are proud to support this initiative. All of our faith traditions call us to care for the vulnerable, those who rely on us for basic services. Certainly this includes taking serious responsibility to care for the youngest among us, those who make up the next generation. In Arizona, we decided early on in our formation as a state that this stewardship of young life meant we needed to provide quality public education for every child. Yes. Friends, we are a long way from meeting our obligation to the rising generation. We have a drastically underfunded education system that has teacher pay so low that teachers are leaving in droves. These are skilled professionals who want to work with Arizona children but can't afford to stay here, especially when other states reward their teachers for their hard work with reasonable pay. If our state wanted to address the travesty of teacher pay in Arizona, we could have a long time ago. But our teacher shortage crisis will not improve without a serious, long-term plan to address the funding inadequacies in our budget. We simply do not have the revenues to get us back to pre-recession days or to move us forward in a meaningful way. We've cut too much and we've added too little. And teacher pay is far from the only problem. Arizona children every day attend overcrowded classrooms with fewer and fewer qualified teachers. Their schools lack the resources to provide vital programs and services, and their buildings are crumbling from lack of maintenance. Billions of dollars have been withheld from our children. Here's the bottom line. If we continue to underfund public education, we stand to lose a generation of Arizonans. Childhood is a brief window of time, and we are all stewards as a society of those few years that impact the rest of a person's life. So today, even as we prepare to bring this initiative to the ballot, we call on our elected leaders to also step up to the state's obligation to our children. Let us take seriously let us take seriously the calling and the privilege of shaping young lives. I want to welcome back to the podium David Lupon.
The Arizona Center for Economic Progress was launched last year to advocate for policies that will help more Arizonans move up the economic ladder. For 30 years now, the go-to economic strategy at the state capitol has been tax cuts. But instead of getting the jobs and economic growth promised from those tax cuts, we have received a public school system that has $1.1 billion less in state funding today than a decade ago. All of those tax cuts have also shifted Arizona's prime revenue source from the income tax to the sales tax. Arizona now has one of the highest sales tax rates in the nation, with residents in some Arizona cities having 10% sales tax rates or greater. Today, sales tax makes up the largest portion of the taxes paid by lower and middle income Arizonans, and the portion of their income that they pay in taxes can be as much as 3 times higher than the wealthiest Arizonans. It is time to make investing in public education Arizona's top economic strategy. The Invest in Education Act will create a guaranteed, sustainable funding source to solve our teacher shortage and classroom crisis, and it does so in a thoughtful and responsible way by balancing our revenue streams and asking those who have benefited the most from past tax cuts and who can afford it to pay their fair share. This initiative increases the classroom site fund by raising the income tax rate by 3.46% on individual incomes over $250,000 or household incomes over $500,000. And by 4.46% on individual incomes over $500,000 or household incomes over $1 million. 99% of Arizonans will not see any tax increase from this initiative. The seniors who are graduating from Arizona's public high schools in the coming weeks have, from the time they entered kindergarten, been in a public school system that has taken a back seat to tax cuts at the state capitol. If approved by voters this November, this initiative will ensure the kindergartners who begin school this fall and all Arizona students that there will be a secure, reliable revenue stream to support their education and which cannot be taken away by the legislature. Now is the time for all Arizonans to come together to get this done for Arizona students. We need 151,000 valid signatures by July 5th. This is not a partisan issue. When we invest in our students, we all win through the skilled workforce, jobs, higher wages, and economic prosperity that will result. I was a principal at a school in downtown Phoenix for a few years. I saw firsthand how our school funding crisis is impacting the ability to attract and retain quality teachers, to have small class sizes, and to provide the materials that students need to get a quality education. The next few weeks it's going to get hot, but I am ready to hit the streets and do my part to get the signatures. I'm going to do it for the students at my school and for all Arizona students. They deserve it. We as a state deserve it. If you feel as I do, I hope that you will waste no time and get started today in helping us get the signatures we need to make this initiative a success. You can get more information on our website, investinedaz.com. We are going to have petitions ready to go today. It is time to get started. Before we open it up to questions, I want to let you know that this morning we amended the initiative based on feedback to clarify that spending decisions are made by elected school governing boards in an open and transparent manner with public review, and it involves the input of teachers. We also made a technical correction to ensure that the deposits in the classroom site fund will get to where they're supposed to be.
Yes.
Now I'm happy to take any questions.
How much money is the coalition going to put toward this signature gathering?
So we have, as you can see, we have a coalition across Arizona that is coming together. We've already received some contributions from some of those organizations. We expect we will have the ability to have a robust and vigorous campaign that's going to be able to get the signatures needed.
Yes.
We're starting our signature gathering today. I think the petitions will be ready within the next 2 hours, and so people that want them, they will be available here, and they can start signing away and getting them to other people.
Where?
Did you guys consult the organizers with Arizona Educators United in crafting this initiative?
We did not work with the educators of Arizona AEU, but this is an option for them to get behind this. It's been very encouraging over the weekend to see the enthusiasm and the support for this ballot initiative. We think that this is part of the solution to get that guaranteed, secured revenue into our classrooms that cannot be taken away from teachers, and we look forward to all of these teachers helping to take part in that.
Is this in addition to the governor's plan, or is this in lieu of?
Well, we brought this forward because time and time again we've seen revenue proposals that do not have sustainable revenue to back it up. And so we believe that this will provide that secure and sustainable revenue. And let me just say, we've heard that this is a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue. I hope that Governor Ducey and all legislators will get behind this and support it. This is something that can work with his plan. There is some sustainable revenue that he is offering. We can provide the rest of the boost. Together, we can provide over $1 billion in funding and get us back to 2008 levels.
Going to be available at?
Where are the petitions? Somebody want to answer that? I don't know if we have somebody. They will be available. We'll be in this area later today. How about that?
Yes.
And we will let you know on the website. The Arizona Education Association has been involved with us in the conversations leading up to this. You see the people that are behind us here, and I think you'll be hearing in coming days who are the other organizations in support of this.
There's been other education groups who have expressed concerns about the income tax, like because of the opposition that you're sure to garner. Are you guys prepared to fight those forces and ultimately favor of this?
Absolutely. I think, as I said at the beginning, the people at the lowest part of our income scale in Arizona can pay up to 3 times the portion of their income in taxes because of our heavy reliance on sales tax. I'll give you another example. Somebody who is going to face a tax increase in this under this ballot initiative, somebody who's at the top end, a person who's making $30,000 a year is still going to pay a higher portion of their income in taxes, in sales and property tax, than people who are impacted by this tax increase because of the regressivity. So we think that this is a fair and equitable way to do it, to raise the revenue that we need for Arizona's public schools.
Thank you.
How long have you guys been discussing this initiative?
Well, we've been having ongoing discussions for several weeks now. But I think if you look to some of these groups and these organizations, we've been calling on more funding for public schools for decades now. And so this is a funding crisis. And when you talk about Arizona schools having $1.1 billion less today than a decade ago, I'm sorry, but we cannot do that by economic growth alone. We need new revenue in order to accomplish that. If the legislature legislature's not going to do it, we'll take it to the ballot and we'll do it.
It's my 44th year teaching. I started in New York, $9,600. If I would have stayed in New York, my salary would be $120,000. So I am glad that it's finally now.
Thank you. You're one of the examples of why we're doing this.
Gotta make
All right.
it true.
Oh, somebody has asked why are we not going after corporate tax rates? So in Arizona, our legislature has cut corporate tax rates so low that corporations have very little liability. But they have also, at the same time, been increasing tax credits that corporations can use. And so what happens is, if you take a tax credit and you don't have enough tax liability to use that entire tax credit, our law allows you to carry forward those tax credits as much as 8 years. Right now, on the books in Arizona, corporations are holding over $1 billion in carry forward balances in tax credits. We want to get the money into the classrooms now. If corporate income taxes, as much as they need to be raised, will not get revenue into our classrooms now, because we would first have to reduce all of those tax credit, the $1 billion balances. And so it would take a number of years before we would start to see the revenue from that. We need revenue in our classrooms today, and we believe this is the fairest, most guaranteed way to do that. Yep. The question is, are we going to start working on the tax credits? Yes. There's many issues with Arizona's tax code. We need to take them. This is one that we feel we can address now, but absolutely, that's another big issue that needs to be addressed.
As far as I learned that the tax from the marijuana, tax from the tobacco, and tax from the lottery should go for education. If it is going towards education, if not where it is going, and when those taxes will come to us.
Well, we do have a number of, we have different revenue sources to get money into education. As we know that the revenue sources we have are not creating the funding we need to provide for our students. We feel that this is the way to go in terms of providing that secure revenue source for us. All right, we will open it up to questions for anyone else of the people in the media, but thank you all so much. Check out Invest in Ed AC.